We turn to a major legal heavyweight and insider at the DOJ who says there actually may be legally required limits on Jeff Sessions' replacement, which could prevent him, in theory, from overseeing the Russia probe. My next guest is someone you have certainly seen. Neil Katyal was former acting Solicitor General under President Obama, meaning he was arguing before the Supreme Court, an important position. He also served in the Clinton administration. And get this, as we've discussed before, he wrote the rules that govern the very posts that Mueller has. That was back in 1999. First of all, Neil, thank you for coming on our special coverage tonight.
Thank you. It's great to be here with you.
You state there may be a way that even though as of this moment, in terms of the news we've been reporting, as of this moment, Whitaker is acting Attorney General of the United States. But you say there is a way that he may actually be limited. What is that?
Yeah, so the Constitution really does put some limits on this. You know, Justice Clarence Thomas, who's President Trump's kind of favorite justice on the court, just a few years ago wrote an opinion that said, you know, the Senate has to confirm principal officers like the Attorney General. It can't just be that the president can just install whoever he wants in that. And Justice Thomas's idea there, and he says the word corruption, he says, what if the president is corrupt? You wouldn't want to have a circumstance in which anyone could go and exercise the full powers of, say, the Attorney General, a cabinet officer, or something like that. There's a point to Senate confirmation. And this is, I think, a very tough thing for President Trump, who said he wants to strictly construe the Constitution and be guided by the founders' intent. As Justice Thomas says, that intent is really pretty clear. I mean, the guy who is now the acting Attorney General is not the person like the Deputy Attorney General who was Senate confirmed, Rod Rosenstein, or the Solicitor General, Noel Francisco, who was Senate confirmed. It's like a staffer. And, you know, that's unusual. We've not seen that before. I mean, this is the Attorney General of the United States with all of the massive powers incumbent, and it's being, you know, handled by effectively a constitutional nobody. And
right.
Yes, I think that the Constitution is going to have a lot to say about that. You're
calling him a nobody. A lot of people who watch the news every night are saying, we never heard of Whitaker, and now he's the guy. In Trump's vision, he's now wiped out Rod Rosenstein, and he's on the record saying all these things. I want to read you something that our news researchers just unearthed. This is from July 2017. It's a little ominous, given that this is the acting Attorney General. With regard to laws to protect Mueller that might reinforce his independence, he wrote they'd be a mistake, cannot have anyone unaccountable in executive branch, quote, already protected enough, Neil.
Yeah. No, I think this is all deeply, deeply worrisome. And look, I understand that, you know, when there's death or disease of a cabinet official, you want to be able to put someone in to temporarily handle those responsibilities. And, you know, and I've been in the Justice Department twice. I love the department and everything it stands for, what you just heard Mr. Carlin saying a moment ago. But when you're in the department, you know that there are a whole host of authorities, laws, and so on, written for emergencies like death and disease. And you have to be really circumspect about using them, because if you cry wolf and pick them up and use them for stuff they're not intended for, it just makes it harder for future presidents down the road. And that's what this president has done. He's taken a kind of emergency situation and used it to force out his Attorney General, to put someone else in place who's effectively his lackey, and who can literally, you know, try and end the Mueller investigation. And so we are at the beginning stages of a deep constitutional crisis.
You say
and we'll see what happens.
You say we're heading towards a constitutional crisis. Michael Beschloss said tonight in this hour, responding to the breaking news, it's 10 times worse than Nixon. How would any of this work? How would there actually be a limit executed on this issue if you're correct?
So Whitaker, the acting Attorney General, could terminate Mueller tomorrow or refuse to do certain things that Mueller asks, like subpoena the president or something like that. Those special counsel regulations, which we wrote in 1999, put the acting Attorney General in the driver's seat when it comes to supervision of the special counsel and approval of all requests. Now, there is one safety check against that, which is we put in the regulations, we said if the acting Attorney General says no to the special counsel, says no to Mueller, it's got to be reported to Congress.
Which is going to become a Democratic Congress. I mean, you stitching that together, I'm supposed to fit in a break. It's so important. I'd love to have you back on the beat again on this and other stories. Neil Katyal, thank you.
Of course.
Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.